Perhaps more than we'd care to admit, we've become pretty dependent on automation. Robots do thousands of industrial tasks. They also clean our homes, mow our lawns, and deliver our food.
Here's your delivery.
And they remembered the banana peppers. So these days, we don't give robots a lot of thought. For the most part, they just do their jobs well, and they never complain. And what's fascinating is where automation is headed in the future. Developers are making headway towards swarm robots that will communicate and collaborate to solve problems, and patching robots that will autonomously identify damage and make repairs. It's exciting stuff, but in this episode, I'll be taking you into a world where this type of automation already exists. A place maintained by machines that are the envy of every scientist and engineer. You guessed it. I'm talking about the most technologically advanced place on planet Earth, the cell. In previous episodes, we looked at molecular machines that build and assemble the cells in your body. Today, we'll look at machines with a different task. Their job is to make repairs in your cells. Inside of you, there are trillions of microbots working hard to fix what's broken in your cells. Without them, your body would break down in a very short time. And unlike your air conditioner that doesn't get fixed until the repairman arrives, the molecular machines in your cell are making repairs 24/7. They do the work, and you can keep running without even knowing there was ever a problem. So let's move inside where these machines are found all over the cell. We'll be visiting the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, and the nucleus, which is our first stop, and the home to DNA. DNA is the carrier of the genetic information that helps make each of us who we are. One secret of the cell is that things go wrong with your DNA on a continual basis. In most cases, these problems have to be fixed. Here's what happens. As we saw in previous episodes, DNA consists of 4 different kinds of chemicals called nucleotides. Like letters in a sentence, their sequence spells out instructions for the cell. An error in the instructions can result in a defect. This is a critical issue when the cell replicates. The DNA has to be copied accurately so the sequences are identical. Copy errors can have serious consequences. Now we'll look at the remarkable mechanics of DNA duplication and repair. To help us follow the process, we'll be portraying the many machines in the cell as, well, machines. Before DNA can be copied over, it has to be unzipped by a machine called helicase. With the strands separated, we can begin the DNA duplication process. A truly remarkable machine called polymerase adds the complementary nucleotides to the growing new strand. The template is A with T and G with C. When all goes according to plan, the strand is completed with no distortion to the code, and you have a perfect copy. But now for the rest of the story. As I said before, things do go wrong with DNA. Actually, a lot of things. Now we'll go behind the scenes where myriad robots maintain DNA's integrity and keep you alive. Here's our first challenge. It turns out polymerase has a serious weakness. By itself, it isn't able to hold on to DNA very tightly. After adding just a few nucleotides, it falls off. You can't copy what you can't hold on to. So right off the bat, we have a major obstacle. But fear not, as we're going to see throughout this video, the cell is filled with gadgets that solve problems. In this case, we have this very cool clamp, perfectly designed to help polymerase keep its grip. But this donut gadget might seem odd to you. How does it fit around the DNA? Enter another amazing molecular machine called the clamp loader. It pulls apart the clamp and wraps it around DNA. Now the polymerase can merrily slide along the DNA, making a new copy. But now we have another problem. Sometimes an incorrect nucleotide gets added to the sequence. Fortunately for us, polymerase isn't some ordinary, undiscerning robot. It's a very fine proofreader. The polymerase will actually sense the error and immediately step back to cut off the incorrect nucleotide. It then proceeds as before, adding more nucleotides to the end. Leaving nothing to chance, some machines double-check for uncorrected mistakes. If mismatched nucleotides are found, a repair team cuts out the region. Polymerase fills it with fresh DNA, and another machine, ligase, stitches the patch into the DNA chain. At this point, I think it's important to point out that many comparisons have been made between machines made by humans and the machines found in humans. Clearly, we are an assembly of many sophisticated mechanical parts. So does that mean you and I are just machines? No, of course not. Machines are arrangements of parts that can be used for a task. They exist for the good of something else. But people and other living things exist for their own good, for their own purposes. The living organism is the being for whose good the machines of the cell work. Now, onto the cytoplasm, which has some of the most astonishing machines of all. The cytoplasm is busy with millions of protein machines, and sometimes they can get jostled and damaged. This transporter is carrying a lipid to the cell membrane. Usually it delivers the cargo smoothly, but today a collision occurs. The misshapen transporter now poses a hazard, and it must be taken out of service. And this proteasome does just that. Its job is to dispose of whatever is dragged into it. Destruction machines roaming freely in your cells? Not a comforting thought. But the proteasome has safety caps on both ends. Healthy machines are almost never consumed. So how does the proteasome know what to shred? The job of another set of micromachines is to recognize disabled machines and place a tag on it called ubiquitin. It's kind of like those signs you see on junked cars next to the road. The proteasome is drawn to the tag direct, but the opening is too narrow. No problem, the proteasome cap straightens it out, threading it inside where it's broken down into fragments by prods that break chemical bonds. These fragments are further reduced to amino acids, which the cell can reuse to build new machines. Interesting. Our cells have been doing recycling long before it became popular. Removing the trash is not a glamorous job, but it is a critical one. If rubbish builds up on the streets, all manner of health hazards can ensue. Similarly, a cell with a defective proteasome system is at risk for many diseases, including Parkinson's and other neurodegenerative diseases. And finally, the cell membrane. As with DNA in the nucleus and proteins in the cytoplasm, maintaining the integrity of the cell membrane is a constant struggle. At times, tears occur, causing internal contents to leak out and external material to flow in, leading to cell death if not quickly stopped. And what's sort of disturbing is that these tears don't just happen occasionally. At any one time, up to 10% of active muscle cells can have tears or holes in their membranes. As many as 12% of nerve cells. You don't want to lose those. And as many as 25% of muscle cells in the heart have disrupted membranes. That's a lot to repair. Yet despite such challenges, cells can live for months, years, even decades due to a range of membrane repair mechanisms. Here's just one of them. Your cells recognize a hole when an abnormal amount of calcium flows in. Sensors detect the increase, triggering an alarm that signals the repair crew to act. These remarkable hollow spheres made of membrane material come to the rescue. When they land, the material flows together and tension is reduced. A perfect patch is created without you ever knowing you had a problem. If only my AC maintenance was this easy. Cells with holes in them can't survive longer than a few minutes without being repaired. The cell's fate is similar without DNA repair bots or proteasomes doing cleanup. So as we wrap up this episode, we need to address a glaring question. When early single-celled life inhabited Earth, how could it survive until repair machines evolved to maintain it? To answer that, we need to first remember that repair machines are separate, independent systems from the machines they repair. Tools needed to repair a car are not parts of a car. Tools needed to repair a photocopier are not parts of a photocopier. The upkeep of complex machines requires forethought, planning, and customization. In the very same way, since the beginning of life, cells required upkeep by machines made precisely for their needed repairs. So it's the old chicken and egg problem. You can't have one without the other. The first life necessarily had a complete maintenance system. And just like so much else we've seen about the cell, its remarkable repair machines, which sustain you every moment of your life, are products of forethought and purposeful planning. That is, they are products of intelligent design. I'm Mike Behe, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of Secrets of the Cell.